great matchup. I'm extremely excited for it. I wouldn't bet a cent on it.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't. And it's in Montreal. You're gonna get. It's weird. A lot of times, promoters will, take the site fee. They'll get some, casino where nobody's in it, and they'll put the fight on TV, and it's a joke. It doesn't do the sport a service. You will see a fight Saturday night at the Bell Center, packed with passionate, screaming fans. It's gonna look like a live event. It's gonna be energetic. You're gonna see the two best fighters in the world at 175 pounds going at it. It's gonna be a great show. And for anybody that says boxing is dead, let me tell you this. Boxing will be alive in Montreal on Saturday night.
Speaking of great fights coming up, I've heard that I'm going to get to see Chris Areola without pay-per-view here.
Yeah, and not even pay-per-view. You don't even have to pay for premium cable. You don't have to worry about that extra $20 a month to get HBO. Chris Areola, he's going to be back on TV. He's going to be on ESPN2. Basic cable. He's going to be fighting Manuel Quezada. I don't expect many people to know who that is. I don't expect much of a fight here, but I expect Chris to be exciting. In Chris's last fight, he got a fight with Tomas Adamek. Tomas is a great fighter, draws great crowds. He was a 175-pound champ. He was the unified consensus champ at cruiserweight. He crashed the division, beat Andrew Galata. He had a lot of good fights. The fight with Areola was a pick'em fight. You didn't know who was going to win, and he wound up getting the decision. Areola said he didn't train for the fight. Who knows? Chris Areola said that he's trained for this fight. I love Chris. I think he's an awesome fighter. I think he's got great power, great personality. He's good for the sport. But again, he said he's coming in great shape.
We like Chris because every time he gets interviewed, he says, I know I was out of shape. This time I'm going to train.
He trains, but he trains to fight.
Well, he doesn't train to cut weight.
Right, exactly.
He comes in to the fight. The guy has the best personality. He's great for the sport of boxing.
And he hits probably harder than almost every fighter out there.
You line 100 guys up, he's going to knock 99 of their heads off.
He is a power puncher. And when it gets scrappy and he gets caught in those exchanges, he'll win those exchanges because he does have a nice amateur background. He was the National Golden Gloves champion. Chris Areola, he is the truth. He is the real deal. Is he good enough to make it to that elite level? So far, he's been able to make it to that great level, which is, by most boxer standards, an amazing place to be. It's just that he hasn't quite been able to get over the hump. He hasn't been able to beat a Klitschko, which, right now nobody can. And Tomas Adamek,
I think,
that skill, those dudes are tough.
Chris would have trained for that fight. I mean, that fight could have went either way. You never
know.
Yeah,
it could have gone either way. I was surprised at the decision. I thought Adamek eked him out, but I was surprised that the hometown decision went that way. And, that was a good fight. And the thing is, we're talking about a fight that wasn't even for a title, Adamek Areola, like it was one of the biggest fights in the heavyweight division. As a fan, we just want to see good fights. And you're going to see action on Friday night. Tune in to ESPN2. You're going to see Chris Areola. Put the kids to bed before the interview because you may hear a couple curse words that they might not be able to get out. But after that, we're going to see some great fights on Srikeforce.
Friday night, we've got former UFC Joe Riggs.
Riggs is a good fighter.
Yeah, All-American wrestler. Yeah, he beat Nate Diaz. He beat Phil Baroni. He's going to be fighting an up-and-comer, Lewis Taylor. Lewis Taylor's 6-1, 4 KOs. According to Wikipedia, he likes poetry and he's a family man.
Fairly untested. He's beat up everybody at the barbershop and he's had a few fights at the local Legion, but he looks good. He looks good in those fights that we've seen.
You've got Joe Riggs, who was in the UFC, who's now in Srikeforce. He's probably looking to make it back to the UFC, where you've got Lewis Taylor, who's made it to Srikeforce, who's probably looking to get to UFC. Both men have similar goals. You got the old meat with the young troller. Who knows?
It's a great gateway fight. You're going to see what the young dude's made of. You're going to see if this young dude has the talent, has the skill to get past the cagey veteran. You're going to see what the veteran has left in the tank. Can Riggs still be viable?
You never know with these old schoolers. Not to say that he's that old, but you look at your Keith Jardines. Jardines won 0 of his last 4 fights.
The dean
but,
of mean.
You could put
Yeah,
Jardine up against, the best cover, and, the fight could be done in the second round, and Jardine could literally knock his brain out of his head. You don't know.
The young kids need they need these fights.
It tells you who's a great fighter.
Exactly.
Who's got heart.
You don't need these young kids who are very skilled, very talented, going against, some douchebag with a couple, piercings and dyed hair that's hanging out at Hooters to say he's a fighter, train for 2 weeks, go against this kid at a bingo hall and get his ass kicked. You don't need to see that. You need to see these young, talented kids go against these great, tough, card-carrying, badass veterans. That's what you need to see.
Who have been knocked out maybe a few times.
Right.
Who definitely, there's a small window of opportunity to be able to win the fight.
It's Friday the 13th, so who knows what side luck is going to be on. But it's a great night of fights, and it's going to lead us into a good night of boxing on Saturday night, which we're going to get to here in a moment.
So tune into Fright Night on Showtime.
Friday the 13th.
The Challenger Series.
Don't walk under a ladder.
Joe Riggs, Lewis Taylor.
So leading into that, we've got an interesting fight on the horizon here. A couple weeks away, but we can start talking about it now because I think it's an important fight for a lot of different reasons. James Lights Out Tony trying his hand at mixed martial arts. He's going to be entering the UFC octagon against Randy the Natural Couture. Matt, what do you make of this? Is this a circus sideshow?
David Hayes says you're delusional for fighting in MMA. He's gay.
Is this a legitimate fight? What is going on here? Is this going to be good?
Many will say, what the hell is going on here? You've got James Lights Out Tony.
I got milk, baby. Who's next?
As a boxer, is lethal. I mean, he's had
Great record.
Great record. Are you kidding me? James Tony is 72-6-3 as a professional boxer. He started out at 160 pounds. He's fought as heavy as 257 pounds.
I'm James Tony.
He won a trinket that got reversed
Due to, steroids or whatever. I mean, I can't understand him. I have no idea. There's something about him I like. I don't know.
I'm indestructible.
James Tony, he said he would fight anybody. At first, he wanted Brock Lesnar. Then he wanted Simba.
Yeah, Simba. Kimbo, what do you call him? Kimbo Slice.
And then he recanted and said that he meant Kimbo. Kimbo Slice, not Simba from the popular Disney movie,
the Lion
King.
Well, the only way he's going to fight Kimbo now is maybe in one of those backyard barbecues that Kimbo got his name on, because Kimbo he's done.
Yeah, Kimbo's cut. You might see Kimbo actually on YouTube again next week.
Yeah.
But James Lights Out Tony. This is actually really amazing when you think about it, folks. You got James Tony. He's an amazing champion. He really is. You can't understand a word he says. He's fighting Randy the Natural Couture. Now, Randy Couture, he's already in the Hall of Fame of the UFC. I mean, frankly, I'm asking myself why Randy's doing this, because I'm thinking that Randy, he's going to put Tony up against the wall like he did Brandon Vera.
He's gay.
Maybe. Or maybe he's going to take him down. I don't know. But he's thinking, Randy's a game plan guy. He's going to go in there with a game plan. He's going to go through with his game plan. James Tony, he's training with some reputable guys apparently, but let's face it. I mean, he hasn't had much time on the ground.
That game plan could go out the window with one clip to the chin.
That's what I'm saying. And this is the wild card of this fight right now. James Tony, he's probably got a neck that's as strong as an ox. I mean, he's fast. He's a big guy. He's fast. He's got serious power.
Couture's head could wind up, his head could wind up in the Sitco sign at Fenway Park.
Yeah.
This fight's in Boston. My whole thing is going to this fight. Couture has more to lose in this fight than James Tony does, right?
He really does. Tony can't get a fight right now in the sanctioned boxing world. He could be done as a boxer.
For all intents and purposes.
He probably is. I mean, he's through his, golden years or whatever. Now, Randy Couture is 47 years old. He made his UFC debut when he was in UFC 13. We're at UFC, 119? I would be shocked if James Tony won. I have no idea.
It's not smart to make a prediction until at least maybe by the weigh-in. You want to get a look at the guys, see where they're at, and then all the studying that you do looking into the fight, you take that into consideration at the weigh-in, how the guys look. My gut tells me that Couture is going to, do what he does and get the win. But, I mean, just the question of a guy of James Tony's punching ability against Couture, a guy who's, off, I don't know if he's on, Live with Regis and Kelly tomorrow morning. Who knows what he's doing on his movie promotion.
What do you think about this? Now, James Toney, Randy Couture. Randy Couture is known for sticking to his game plan, okay? James Toney is a boxer. Boxing is all about game plan. It's all about game plan.
No, James Toney is James Toney.
He's inherently going to stick to a game plan no matter what. I mean, now, are those going to cancel each other out? What's going to happen here?
I don't know. If I was a guy in James Toney's camp, I would